We're back live from the Recruitment Expo in the NEC in Birmingham. It's RecTalk once again, day 2. This time I've managed to grab some time with the very, very busy Kristie Perrotte. Got it right this time.
You did get it right.
So, look, it's not another marketing episode. I'll be straight with that. We're going to talk about 2 really important things that Kristie and her team are pioneering within our space right now. The first being automation and what to do with that and how to leverage that properly. And the second being RPO. And it's those 3 scary letters for a lot of agencies who don't quite understand how they can move what their current operations are into that world. So I'm going to pick your brains for the next 15, 20 minutes, maybe even longer, on those 2 things. So I really think people need to know about it.
Amazing.
First of all, thank you for making the journey and giving me your time.
Thank you. It's Rec Expo.
Busy.
Wouldn't miss it.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, and you're on stage later as well, right?
Yes, later today, talking about RPO
Excellent.
and how businesses are agencies are transitioning in that space.
Should we start there
Let's
then,
do
and then
it.
kind of we'll go out that way?
Let's do it.
Cool. So, tell us RPO. What's the point, and why should an agency be looking at that?
Yeah, well, a lot of chatter, and particularly a lot of chatter, I think since COVID, but particularly in the last year. It's been a hard year for agencies. I'm in all the WhatsApp groups, and everybody's talking about contingency and whittling down the fees, and clients who have 10 agencies on the books and they're only filling 1 in every 5. And if you're only filling, and that is actually the average, if you haven't heard, it's the average fill rate in the UK is 19%. So that means you're working for free. If you're doing contingency recruitment, you're working for free for 80% of your time. And who wants that?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just crazy. Who dreamt up this model? And that's not to say there's some businesses doing it incredibly well. I spoke to one a few weeks ago that is a 98% fill rate, so not taking away from that.
But they're the exception, not the rule. And this is the problem,
Possibly.
is people follow that kind of mentality, right? Well, I've always done it that way. It works for me. No, it works for some businesses, not all of them.
Yeah.
Especially if you're only filling 20% of your roles.
Yeah, and I think the RPO or embedded or whatever you want to call it, and actually even before that, is what I think's been born out of this right now, and possibly born out of the whole AI and automation and the move to exclusive or retained. Is that we're starting to see different models popping up, which I think is just brilliant for our industry. Our industry needed this. But I'm also seeing productization. So when you look at executive search, for example, and all those different steps in executive search, there's more businesses that are offering them as pieces and really trying to be responsive to their customers' needs. And as a result, really tailoring these. And
this is the move away from transactional mentality to you pay me in the manner that you do because I give you a service in the manner that I do, right?
Yeah.
And moving that to we're a consultancy. So what do you need? Do you need retained? Rather than I exclusively work retained. Well, you can't say that. You're going to leave a lot of money on the table. I exclusively work on exclusive jobs. Well, there'll be times where you're not. So you're saying you walk away. It's
and that's just do you walk away? And I think the contingency model as well. In some ways, you can't blame the client, and that's going to be a contentious statement, but it's because our industry has bred this. There's always people who are undercutting. I think a lot of people who come into hiring manager roles, they don't know any different. They just think this is how it is. And so, 10 agencies want to get on my job. Great, sounds good. And I don't think they're not thinking through that means that 9 are not going to be successful.
A lot of them need the education piece, which we don't do either.
We don't
explain to them, look, you operating in this way and recruiting in this manner leads to these behaviours. Those behaviours that you don't like about agencies, you're breeding that in the manner that in the way that you're operating.
Yeah.
But we just don't feel. Well, say we don't feel. A lot of agencies don't feel confident having those conversations. Is that because we don't empower our staff? I suppose.
Possibly. Just to give an example, as from the vantage point of a hiring manager.
Yeah.
So I hire staff. I get the e-shots that come out.
Yeah.
And I was hiring for a role. This is now going back a year or more ago, but the role's out. I'm in the industry. People know I'm hiring, so I'm getting a lot of these e-shots, and literally every single one is the same. I have this. I have that. It's very standard. And I go back to them. I said, "What are your fees?" And I know I'm probably, grating them when I say that. Some of them said 25%.
Poking the bear, aren't you?
Some of them said 10%.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. They all gave me pretty much the identical email. So, and I understand the industry. I understand, I know what good looks like, I'd like to think. But from a hiring manager vantage point, how have you just justified a 25% fees versus 10% fees? You don't. And or they haven't. Most of the time they haven't. The ones that are probably getting the 98% fill rate, they probably have. And that's the difference.
But they're the ones that are not e-shotting you with,
no, they're not.
I see you're hiring, let me work for you.
Probably not.
They're the ones that are going, oh, you said you were hiring soon. And in that time, I've been talent
Creating
banking
the
and thinking about things
and creating my brand and creating my value proposition and understanding my models and tailoring my service to you. So, kind of going back to the RPO side of it is, I think recruiters are sick of this. Who likes this model, and then businesses I don't think love it either. I nobody loves it. So we're in this situation that the industry is as it is, and how do we fix it? And I think businesses are starting to fix it, and that's what's so exciting. So the RPO embedded world is, how do you take a you're not going to have a cold call and suddenly get an RPO engagement. But if you have these, understand that the businesses that you have a great relationship with who may have potential for RPO, and it's crafting what does RPO look like. It's much, much bigger than just high volume recruitment. It really is. Instead of just that tiny little piece of the putting in that actual recruitment engagement, you're now looking at the entire outsourcing. And a big part of that is employer branding. They actually say, so as an average, 4% of the RPO engagement should go to some kind of employer branding, recruitment marketing. So that's everything from developing, obviously, the EVP and employer brand, to the website, the career site, all the way through to how do you now market the company if you are the RPO.
And I'm teeing this up for you because I know the answer, but I'm a recruitment business owner. I'm not a marketing specialist. So how the hell do I A, position that, and B, when they do go, yeah, okay, fine, we accept that we need to look at our employer branding, how the hell am I going to deliver that?
Yeah, you are teeing it up. And this is just it. To be honest, I've talked to some businesses, and somebody actually, a recruitment leader who I really admire, said to me, well, what's stopping me from doing this myself? And I said, to be honest, I said, you don't know how. It's a marketing agency, and not to mention the barrier to entry, or the startup cost of building a marketing team.
The answer's really simple. Yeah, your lack of ability to do it. Because if that's what you could do, that's what you'd be doing. You wouldn't be doing recruitment.
And this is just it. You kind of dovetailing. A couple months ago, I think it was July, when Chapter 2 and the whole Stephen Bartlett and we're disrupting, and oh gosh, the WhatsApp groups went nuts on this. But if you actually look at what the service offering is, they're offering kind of an executive search RPO kind of offering, baked in with technology. But or they call it data. They call it, the latest in data insights. But if you go on their website, they just list out, job boards, tech stack. It's nothing new. And employer branding, because they have the Stephen Bartlett machine behind them. It's innovative. It is different. I don't think it's completely disruptive, and it's certainly within reach of pretty much every agency out there.
Yeah.
And the teeing up is we're partnering with agencies to deliver it.
This is the point. It's not marketed to us, though, as recruitment business owners or people in the recruitment supply chain. It's marketed to the end user, which are companies, right? And so if it is the smoke and mirrors effect that makes people go, oh, Stephen Bartlett, oh, that means, I want to work with them because of that, it just proves a model. It proves a model that, okay, personal branding and business branding is important and key.
Absolutely.
And the message that you deliver is equally as key. And so sometimes even the substance is lacking, if it's sort of, clients will buy all sizzle, no steak, if it's delivered in the right way, right? And so that will get you a foot in the door. Now, obviously, if it's poor delivery and execution, then you're not growing or scaling a business on that model.
Yeah.
But you've got to kind of balance the sizzle with the steak, right?
Yeah.
And so this isn't out of the realms of possibility. If you have, it's funny because I ran my recruitment business for 7 years, and during that time, I can pinpoint 2, possibly even 3 clients where we could have gone in and delivered an RPO. Where we were their exclusive recruitment partner, their recruitment spend was excessively high, and we thought about it. And twice we tried to kind of have the conversation, but we just weren't equipped. We didn't know where to start. what do I draw up?
How do you price it?
Yeah.
What is the service offering? I actually just heard a story just an hour ago, and somebody, it was a recruiter who was doing just this, and they said, I can do it, I have this great relationship, and he went in and he tweaked his contingency deck for this, and he lost the business because, the HR director saw right through it. They know what an RPO pitch looks like. They know what an RPO service is. And it is that, you are literally creating something of value.
It's a mini business unit within it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's funny, because unfortunately, you almost do the opposite of what you set out to do, because you've got a client that's spending, a good whack of money with you, and you're like, we can retain this in some capacity. You've planted a seed of there's a better way to do this, and then you've opened the door and let them go and find that person to deliver it because you've proven that that's not you. And so you kind of you've shafted yourself both ways.
Well,
right?
Apparently in this scenario, the person lost the business, their existing business, because they didn't show up to the party. Properly prepared.
That's a real shame. But so how then are you guys at Thrive? And again, I'm giving you a chance to plug yourselves, right? How are you guys at Thrive then supporting recruitment business owners with the RPO kind of move? Because there'll be people sat there listening to this now being like, I want to pull the trigger, but you've said this thing about employer branding and I'm shitting myself now because I can't do that.
Yeah. And just to even set the scene just a tiny bit more, I talk to some businesses, they say, we do all the employer branding for them. And I say, well, what do you do? That's exciting. And they say, we take their benefits and we draw up this little slick that we send to all of the candidates with the benefits that they offer. I said, that's not employer branding. So I think, to start with, there's an education on what is employer branding, especially if you have a large team of consultants who are going to be the ones going out there and selling this, right? So understanding what is employer branding. And employer branding, of course, is the essence. It's the EVP. It's more than just looking at the website and seeing, that's things like this. It's understanding the stakeholders. It's looking at, especially if you're talking about bigger businesses that have employee survey data, that you run surveys with stakeholders, you run workshops, you do the discovery, you audit their current career site, if they have one, to see, where are the gaps, what are they doing. And then
that's where the discovery is so important, because you need to establish what they are doing, what's working, what's not working, what they enjoy
it's
about
marketing. My standard commercial marketing client, they'll say the same thing. They're like, all marketing's the same. I've been in the industry for 20 years. I've yet to see two recruitment agencies' marketing plans be exactly the same. Different geographies, different focus areas, different industries, different niches. There really cannot be a cookie cutter on this.
I meet a lot of suppliers and speak to a lot of people, a lot of really interesting people. And I've never met two recruitment marketing agencies that are the same. They all have a slightly different approach.
I know our clients think it's all the same. Unfortunately, though, that's the danger of it. And unfortunately, there is an education that needs to come with that. And going back to the RPO side of it, is how do you educate the consultants? And really, they only have to be opening the door. They don't have to be able to go in there and talk employer brand from A to Z. They're going in, they're presenting RPO, and maybe it's one or two slides. It's talking about the importance of employer brand. Maybe it's dangling a bit of a carrot. We'll go in and maybe do a bit of a SWOT analysis or a competitor kind of comparison. So it's just dangling that carrot to get the end client thinking, this is quite important.
And so is your game plan sounds horrible, but is the angle here to say, okay, Mr. Recruitment Business Owner or Mrs. Recruitment Business Owner, you are pitching for this RPO, you're going to talk about employer branding as an important part of it. Is the angle there to say Thrive will be the recruitment business's consultant and agency, or
white labeled
we'll go straight to,
we can white label it in,
or are you going straight to the HR?
White label it in. I mean, at the end of the day, people work with people, so they, if they really wanted to go on LinkedIn and look up the team, they can see that it's a Thrive team. But we'll white label it in. We'll have an email address. We'll even help the agencies go in and pitch the business.
There's no reason why you wouldn't reach out. There's no point in somebody having an in-house specialist employer branding team when you can outsource that to people who've got infinitely more capacity, experience, and overall skill set, right?
Yeah.
So,
and I think it's a key differentiator even against the big RPO firms. A lot of them will say, oh yeah, the employer branding side of it. Well, so many of them are doing like a landing page and a few social media posts, and they say, ooh, this is the marketing suite we give. And again, I think these businesses are wise to this. There are branding agencies. I'm talking about high street, the big branding agencies will go in and charge 6 figures just for the employer brand side. Now, I'm not suggesting that much. We've worked it out to be much more lean than that. We've worked it out to be able to scale it from, if it's an RPO of £300,000 in value versus an RPO of 1.5 million, RPO value. And we give the tools to the consultants to know what they need to be, selling in at the different price points.
Yep.
They open the door, then we could come in and do, whether it's the audit, whether it's that dangling the carrot of the competitor's SWOT, and then of course the actual, pitch, and then of course the actual delivery on the RPO itself, or delivery on the employer brand itself.
I'm with you. Okay. I like that. And look, those who want to learn more about RPO, we'll be able to reach out to you guys and kind of go down that route.
Absolutely.
Let's move on to the automation side, because
Yes.
that's one of the buzzwords.
Huge buzzword.
AI and automation keep getting banded together, but they are two entirely different things.
Yep.
Right now, I say right now, for the last sort of 5 years, it's been widely accepted that data is the new currency. Data. But we're recruitment business owners. We sit on mountains of data, but we just don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Right?
Do you know that the adage that data is the new oil? Guess
Yeah.
what year that was coined in?
I'm going to say in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, you're close. It's 2005.
Yeah.
We're almost 20 years later, and we're just coming to terms with it at the end of the day. So, Thrive is 6 years old. We're turning 6 in about a week or so. And we've been doing marketing automation from the get-go. Because, I've worked, I've overseen large marketing teams for large recruitment businesses, and I know for a fact that reactivating and getting more of the data you already own, the data that's come from the job boards you've purchased, the LinkedIn licenses that you pay for, the consultants, literally their hours of all of this sourcing and curating and business development, it's sitting in these databases. A business that's 3 or 4 years old, it's not uncommon to see them have 20, 30,000 contact records in there.
Yeah.
We consume massive amount of data in our industry, and yet it sits there. And you get a new job on, and they go to LinkedIn and they start sourcing, and they put it on the job
New data
board.
sources, chuck that back in the CRM.
Yeah.
It'll sit there. One day we'll do something with it.
Bullhorn has done a study, and this backs up what I've actually done with some of my clients. What I did with my former employer. They say that of the data of their customers, they've crunched the numbers. 75% of placements that come from job boards, that candidate already exists in the CRM. So. And now fast forward today, there's all these incredible data enhancement tools, and I'm not just talking about the scrapers, but I'm talking about tools that actually hook into your CRM. That's
you can drop in.
Constantly updating the records, which is just brilliant. So will we get to this place that we can reduce reliance on LinkedIn licenses, reduce reliance on job boards? It's every year when renewal time comes up, you get a flurry of people upset about the costs. Is there a way that we can harness this in the CRM? But there's a big but.
Go on.
Everybody's worried about the data integrity, as they should, because data deprecates very quickly. Candidates move jobs, clients move jobs. Is the data fit for purpose?
Okay. But then there's tools and ways to validate that data and keep. It's funny because I used to have this argument with my old business partner all the time. We should be going to the database first. That should be the first point of call. And he'd go, yeah, but it could be out of date. You spoke to these candidates 6 months ago. Some of them probably got jobs. I was like, well, surely we should know that information.
Yes.
Like, that should be something that's on top of mind. And it's easy to find that information out, right?
Can you do it at volume and at pace?
You can now, yeah.
That's just it. And so this is the role of technology, and this is why, businesses who are saying, ooh, automation, oh, it's stealing recruiters' jobs. I don't buy it. I think it's people who I don't want to say they're not educated, but they're not arming themselves with the knowledge to say, you know what, why don't you give your staff make them superhuman. Give them a superpower. Their superpower is
you're enhancing their ability to recruit.
Exactly. Automation. In this case, might be automation or AI. That they are, some people consider it interchangeable, but consultants don't like doing data entry. It's an oxymoron. If you're good at BD and all those other things, who wants to do data entry?
No one wants to do that job. Yeah.
So it's not surprising that manually they're not keeping an up-to-date CRM. At the same time, you also can't blame them if your CRM does not have current data. And again, let's go back to the contingency recruitment thing. There being, if you're on a contingency recruiter, you need to present your shortlist in 24 or 48 hours. The quickest route to market is going straight to LinkedIn and doing your sourcing on there or job boards to get the job
who logged in last.
So, it's kind of a, it's this cycle that just keeps
it sort of feeds itself,
feeding
doesn't it?
itself.
Yeah. It's funny. I actually, I do a little bit of kind of mentoring work and stuff, and there's a small agency that I deal with. And the MD said to me, it was about nearly 6 months ago now, and I said, all right, what happens in the scenario that these guys make a placement of a candidate who happens to be in the CRM? And he laughed and he went, I'll take 50% of their commission away. And I was like, and they're okay with that? And they're like, yeah, because they hit themselves.
That's interesting.
I should have known. And it's like, okay, but what are you doing about helping them validate that information in that database, right?
Good question.
Because otherwise, all you're doing is you've created an admin step where, I've spoken to Kristie, she sounds perfect for this job. Let me just quickly check if she's in the database.
Yeah.
Oh, she is in the database. Brilliant. I can say I found her on the database. So I was like, so your data's flawed. So even when you are saying a lot of our placements come from the database, they're still doing the jumping on the job board.
So it's a change of behavior.
That's it.
A change of behavior.
Whereas actually, if you run this in the right way, your CRM and automation tech that's out there could be consistently validating these candidates and keeping in contact with them and touch points. And that's when then AI comes in, where you personalize the conversation rather than it just being a generic, hey, my generic recruitment business wants to know if you're still generically looking for a job. It's more, hey, the last time we spoke was 6 weeks ago. You said you were looking for X, Y, and Z. You said you had a few interviews lined up in these places. How did they get on? Really looking to keep our database clean and cleansed. Want to make sure that we're not just mail-shotting you with rubbish all the time.
Well, this is just it. I arrived in the UK in 2010. I was a manager level when I arrived, and obviously my career has progressed in that time. But I am still getting emails that, and I did apply for a few jobs, maybe 2010, 2011, and I still get, emails saying, ooh, we have this great job available for a junior marketer, 28K, are you interested? And it's like, surely, even if you don't keep the database updated, surely you could recognize, don't message somebody from 14 years ago thinking that their career hasn't progressed.
Yeah. So,
yes, there's these incredible tools. And even if you aren't using the tools, there seems to be this paralysis that, these agency leaders or owners are saying, well, I can't start doing automation, I can't start doing database marketing until I fix my data. Some truth in that, potentially, but a massive opportunity cost. A massive, massive opportunity cost if you put the brakes on for 6 months while you're fixing your data.
That's it.
Why can't you segment the data that you have already, that's clean, that's good, that's segmented?
Shall I tell you why?
Go on.
These guys, and again, this is from experience of not only guys that I speak to now, but my old business partner as an example. Do you know when you've got hoarders, like old lady hoarders or old men that just have all this stuff?
And there's a TV show about them that some needs to
interference. Look at all my stuff.
Yeah.
This is all my stuff. Well, you don't use half of it. Do you want to clear some of it out? No, it's all my stuff. I might need it. It's my stuff. So I remember having a conversation with my old business partner going, we need to drop a data cleanse tablet into this database, right? There's all this lines and data. A lot of it is absolutely of no value. We need to clear it out.
Yes.
So that might mean that we go from having 100,000 records down to 30,000 records. And he's like, yeah, we'll just throw in 70,000 records away. Yeah, but if it's not useful and it hasn't been useful, why continue to keep it? Because it's like this innate thing that we have where it's like, but look at what
I might need it.
I've collected all this stuff.
It's a validation for their hard work.
There's people I know that still have their name tags from their first job, second job, third. You know what I mean? And what you got this stuff for?
You know what? I'd argue you don't actually have to throw it away at that moment. You can segment it out. and work with the data that is clean. You could segment it
But the view is that you will take those records and slowly funnel them down into segments of these guys are hot, active, looking, these guys are passive but are aware of us, these guys just completely ignored us.
Yeah.
They have no interest in working with us. We either need to funnel them into are you of any potential use to us, or we need to say goodbye to this data. But
True.
we always, again, it's the false narrative. When you're valuing your recruitment business, the value of your business is linked in some metric to the data that you hold. It's like,
there's a metric with this that they want to see 60% that are actively engaged, regularly engaged. So if you have 100,000 records and only 5,000 of them are activated and engaged, it doesn't matter you have the 100,000, they will only look at the 5,000. You'd be better off to have a 20,000 or 10,000 person record and have 60% actively engaged.
Actively engaged, yeah. And that's not just you mail shop them every week and
No.
therefore by de facto keep them engaged, right? It's sort of lying in metrics and stuff. I like that, yeah. Look, this has been really, really interesting. I'd love to do a full length one where we really dig into this stuff. There's some real cool stuff there. How do guys get in touch with you guys at Thrive, and sort of what's the process? So anyone listening that's kind of like, I want to explore some of this.
Brilliant. Well, check us out on LinkedIn, Thrive Recruitment Marketing. Our website is thrivermo.com. Easy to find, that Thrive Recruitment Marketing Outsourcing. Dovetail on RMO for RPO. And of course, you could get in touch with me. I'm quite findable, Kristie Perrotte. If you look me up on LinkedIn or send me an email, I look forward to talking about all things RPO, recruitment marketing, ROI from marketing. We hadn't even touched on that. It's so much more than just personal branding. It is how is marketing becoming a revenue driver for the business? So there's loads that I'd love to talk to people about.
No, that sounds good. Look forward to that. Look, thank you so much.
Really
appreciate it. And she changed her shoes for this as well. Right, guys, we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
That was good.
Fab, thank you.
Very good, yeah.